an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering Veronica Mars, Season 2, Episode 21, Happy Go Lucky. In this episode, some of what I had theorized about Mayor Goodman is true. The justice system in Veronica Mars's world appears to work very similarly to how it works in our world, unfortunately. And this was a really creepy moment, to be honest, in his study, and I did not care for that. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to Jacqui for commissioning this episode. Jacqui also commissioned the voyeur of this episode. So if you're interested in hanging out with me while I watch it for the first time, you can go and find that video on the Facebook page, facebook.com/unspoiledpod. Rachel's in the chat briefly saying hi. Hi, Rachel. Y'all, this episode, there is so much going on and so much finally being revealed. And I am really excited about it because I'm hopeful. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I really liked this one. I totally get why y'all wanted a voyeur of this, because there's a lot of just like big moments of just, oh shit. And it's really easy to just like focus on the Echolls case and him being acquitted as the main thing where you're like, oh, I want to see her face when that happens. But like, honestly, in a lot of ways, that's the least surprising thing to happen. Now, I'll confess, though, I was still surprised because you never know on a TV show exactly how they plan to handle something that you kind of know just what would happen if this were to really occur in real life. Aaron Echolls absolutely would get away with it. He just would. He just absolutely would. Like, there has never been any case like this with somebody who is so high profile and so powerful where it has ever like seemed like they got held to account in a real way. Even if they found him guilty, I would bet it would be like time served or something, you know, it would be manslaughter. It would just be like, so I was surprised that the show decided to have him be found not guilty. I was not surprised in concept that he was found not guilty. But what winds up happening in some other parts of the show, I mean, I said it at the end of the voyeur. In terms of people that I'm concerned about, Weevil is like number one on that list. I do not like where this is going at all. And Weevil, like, did he do wrong? Of course. You shouldn't kill people, okay? Like, sure. But I do kind of feel like there's a point where like taking somebody out of the equation is for the greater good when you do this kind of work, when you're a fucking gang member. And there was a big part of me that respected the fact that the show had Weevil kill somebody, because I have said before, it felt like they wanted him to be the badass, but they never really wanted him to like cross that line. They never really wanted to make him like a genuine, I don't even want to say villain because he wouldn't be. They don't want to make him as threatening as somebody like him would actually be. They want him to be like a boogeyman that's on Veronica's side most of the time. And I totally get that. I really do. But I was a little bit bummed by it. So when they went this direction, I was really pleased. Like, it felt like he was doing something that was within what his character would really be like, and he was being smart about the way that he did it. Unfortunately, he wasn't being as smart as he thought he was, because come to find out that there were a couple of kids in the back of the van that he literally drugged this dude and grabbed him and you know, it was Guys, did you all see these kids' faces in the van window when you first watched this episode? I am extremely curious to hear how many people realize that he was about to get got because of these children. Because I did not, like, I have no memory of this. And I don't mean that to say, like, oh, it's real convenient. They retcon that there were kids in the van. I don't think they did. I'm pretty sure that those kids were there and, you know, I just missed it. But I really, really like this development because I did miss it. It is something that, like, came as a surprise to me. And as much as I don't want, like, Weevil is low-key a murderer, I feel better with him out there than anybody else. And I don't want him to be held accountable the way that I want Aaron Echolls to be held accountable, you know? Lily was an innocent, you know? She was just out here having a good time being a teenager. And fucking Thumper was shady and a backstabber and a drug dealer and genuinely seemed like a probably bad person who was about to get worse. Like, he seemed like he was on a path heading towards something worse. So, I don't know. I know that it's hypocritical to be like, killing is wrong, except when it's that guy. But I have to be honest about it. I feel that way. You know, there are times and places where I'm just like way less sorry about it. And would it be awesome if there was like another method of dealing with people at times? Yes. But when you are Weevil and you do what he does and you're dealing with somebody who did what Thumper does, your hands are a little bit tied. Like, what is he supposed to do? So anyway, I just had to come out of the gate in defense of Weevil. That's what this episode's going to be called. # in defense of Weevil. But we start off this episode. Guys, it is really, really gross. Aaron Echolls is talking to the jury about how he became infatuated with Lily because of his own aging career and the fact that he is falling out of relevance and that she looked at him in a way that made him feel like he was suddenly relevant again, made him feel like the movie star that he used to be, that he felt like he wasn't anymore. And it is just so pathetic, and it makes me so angry that this worked, because seriously, who fucking cares? That's what it comes down to for me. Boo-hoo. Nobody cares. Like, I hate this so much. So, and he tries to say that we fooled around, but we never actually had sex. It was just, I mean, the idea, the very idea that there are multiple people just lying that they saw this sex tape, one of whom is his son. They really buy that? They really think that he would just lie. For what? Because he just hates his dad so much? Like, I guess that's what they think. I can't figure that one out. Anyway, so, and the fucking thing is that they're trying to claim that he ended the relationship on the day that she was killed. So the story goes, she came to the house. He says she wanted attention, I guess. I told her we had to stop. She stormed out. It wasn't until after she left that I realized she'd taken my Oscar, so I went to her house to give it back. Or to get it back. She wouldn't give it back. She yelled at me and threw an ashtray at me. Then her brother Duncan came out. He was enraged. He was screaming at her about me as though I wasn't even there. And I probably shouldn't have left her with him. But I panicked. I mean, as crazy as he was acting, I never would have imagined. And then somebody finally makes an objection. But it's very clear what's happening here. They're trying to pin all of this on Duncan, who is not here. He fucking fled the country with an illegitimate child that he stole. Yeah, it seems like a pretty fucking convenient place to hang the guilt. But God, it is the most transparent shit in the world. Like, and these people are idiots. This whole jury is full of idiots. So, yeah, he says the last time I saw Lily Kane alive was when she was screaming and throwing an ashtray. And Veronica, despite this testimony, like so many of us, is certain that they are still going to win this case. She is walking out of there fuming about the fact that he has committed perjury and that nobody seems to care. And her father gives her he gives her a lecture about the fact that they're going to try and rattle her when she's on the stand giving her testimony, and that she needs to try and stay as cool as possible, which turns out to be adorable and hilarious because he is the one that needs to stay cool and he is not doing it. He's bad at it. So yeah, he tells her this, and I should mention too, I like the detail that as they're walking out of the courthouse, there are just slews of fans with banners that say, "We heart you, Aaron," holding up like pictures of him, signs that are just like Team Aaron, all of this. Like, it is just really on point in terms of depicting how this shit goes down. I do not understand, and I never will, the feeling of sort of ownership that people have over celebrities. This is something I'm going to go off on a slight tangent here, and I'm going to time myself. It's 11:13. I'm going to give myself until 11:18. I'll give myself 5 minutes to do this tangent. Guys, there is something happening that I don't know we saw coming in terms of the way that celebrities interact with their fans in the age of social media. Now, we all knew that it was like kind of a cool thing that celebrities could be more sort of accessible because they are on Twitter, and it's actually them a lot of the time. Sometimes it's not, but often it is. Or that they have like Instagrams where they like share moments in their regular lives or moments on days at a shoot, moments backstage with people that they're filming with whom they've become friends with. There's a feeling a lot of closeness and a feeling of having some sort of access to them that I believe at first felt really novel and exciting, but now sort of is expected in a way that it wasn't before. And this has led to an increasingly toxic culture in which fans seem to believe that they own that person and should get a say in what that person does and what projects they agree to, how they perform within those projects. Generally, they want to dictate a person's career and treat them as a sort of chess piece. So you'll see, and this has been becoming more and more vicious lately. There have been a lot of, especially female, actresses, rappers, singers, who have been kind of falling victim to this because, of course, women are going to be way more on the receiving end of this stuff than men. This is something that I have even come across, and I am not a celebrity, but I am out in public with my work. I have so many people that like kind of come at me being like, "You're going to cover this, right?" And they like just say it as if it's a given that I will because they said, or they will like instruct me on how to cover something. And it is like, I have talked to other male podcasters and they don't get this sort of message the way that I do. They don't get these sorts of comments the way that I do. And these like the Cupcake and I can't remember the other one. Cupcake is the one that I remember from a few months ago. She was a rapper, and she has basically like kind of pulled out of doing any more work because people were so gross to her about what she was performing, the way that she looked when she performed, everything about how she set up like tours and videos, and all of it was so subject to constant, unrelenting criticism. And there's a sort of an attitude out there amongst fans, amongst people who are not in contact with anybody who is part of this like celebrity sphere, that if you are seeking fame, you need to be prepared for this kind of thing, that it's a package deal, that you get abused by fans if you become famous, and that you just need to be ready for that. And I don't think that's right or fair. There are certain jobs in which becoming widely known is how you become successful. There is no separating those two things. But somebody having to accept that being successful means enduring constant abuse, constant messages saying, kill yourself, or you fat slut, or I like racial slurs, or whatever, that is not right. That should not be part of the deal. And yet we sort of have reached this point where we really just seem to like feel like that's like the price you pay. And I don't get that at all. And it's weird to me that we have somebody, it's not weird, like it makes sense because I know that this is how the world works. But, you know, if it were a woman in Aaron Echolls' position with an underage dude who turns up dead, her husband killed himself, there was a big, you know, expose about how he had been cheating, or how she had been cheating just a couple of months before this girl died. Or I guess it was after, because Lily's dead by the time we start the show. So it's a couple of months after this girl died. I mean, that woman could kiss her freedom goodbye. There is no way that she would be walking away from this. Aaron Echolls, on the other hand, he has a totally different relationship with his fans. And they're here turning up, cheering for him, really acting like they fucking know him. Like, oh, he would never do that. Like, you fucking have any idea. The arrogance involved in thinking that you know a celebrity in any way is just astonishing and really self-delusional in a way that feels incredibly like pathetic, you know? So yeah, I passed my 11:18 mark, so now I must stop. But I just really wanted to talk about that briefly because it's just I'm seeing so much more of that. So yeah, Veronica's father lectures her, and then she assures him that everything, she's going to be able to handle it. She just definitely wants to be there when the verdict is handed out. So she then goes to the food, what do you want to call this? It's not a cafeteria because they're all outside, but they're at the picnic tables at school. She's trying to study, and Gia comes up to her and tries to give her a bunch of cupcakes as a thank you for saving her life. And it is like, honestly, they are some serious cupcakes, guys. There's like an orchid on top of each one. And Gia is desperately trying to become friends with Veronica. And I feel really bad for her because poor Gia does not know what's coming. Like, she has no idea about her dad. Veronica and her father are going to be the ones to expose Woody. That is not going to be doing any favors for Gia at school. And if it does turn out, indeed, that it was her father or one of his little henchmen that set that bomb, I mean, she's going to have to leave town, right? There's no way she keeps going to school with these people. There's no way. I feel really bad for her, guys. I just have to say that out of the gate. Like, she's really silly, but I don't get the feeling that she's exactly stupid. She just seems like somebody who has had a lot of luck in her life, you know? She's extremely privileged, and she's sort of like, she is so sheltered because of that. That I think if she seems like an empathetic person. She seems like somebody, if she was exposed to the way that other people are struggling, if she really got a look at what that's like for other folks, I think that she would try to help. I think she is the kind of person that would care. But as it is, she hasn't been put to the test yet. She hasn't been forced to see certain things. And so she just comes across as incredibly flighty and silly. And I want her to be friends with Veronica because I feel like it could be good for her. Which, you know, is kind of a shitty thing to say, but like, there it is. And yet I know that once this all breaks, like, her life's going to be low-key ruined for a while. I don't really know how you get out of that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel really worried for her in a way that I didn't expect, considering what kind of a small character she is. And I like that is explored in this show, that it's not just like, let's get the bad guy, but they do tend to make you care about the side players and the people who are just, you know, affected by it, who aren't themselves criminals or at fault in any way. They are just had the bad luck to be connected to somebody who did something horrible. And yeah, I am sad for her already. So basically, this whole scene is Gia trying to get Veronica to be her friend and come over and study. Veronica finally agrees to do it. Then Wallace and Jacqui come and sit down, and they are just having like such a great time. And this makes the fact that she just bails for Paris without saying anything to him all the worse later on. She even hints that maybe in this scene she isn't going to go to Paris at all. And I just, girl... Like, why would you... It's awful, guys. It's really awful. So then, finally, Weevil comes up to Veronica and interrupts her studying yet again. Because Veronica is at this point where if she does not ace this exam that she has to take, she will lose all of her chance at getting this scholarship to go to the school that she wants, the Kane Scholarship. So she's starting to get a little... anxious is the kind way to put it, about studying. And every time somebody interrupts her, she's getting more and more irritated. But Weevil, he comes up to her and is like, look, I have to at least get a B on this upcoming algebra exam, because if I don't, I'm not going to pass. And if I don't pass, I'm going to have to, you know, stay for another year. I won't be able to graduate. And my grandmother, that's literally all she wanted, was to see me graduate. So I need to do this. Can you help me? And she's like, look, dude, I'm sorry. I wish I could help, but like, I am super swamped myself. I have to study for my own thing. And he says, yeah, okay, in this voice that really makes it sound like he thinks that she's just turning him down to be a dick. And I get really frustrated by this kind of thing. Like, when you ask somebody for their help, you don't get to judge their response. You know, like, it's you reaching out for them to give you labor. And if they cannot do that, just don't be an asshole about it. Not everybody, and not like I'm talking about that in like any case, but in this particular instance, he's reaching out to her for help during a time that he knows she will also be having to take her exams. So, like, he should be aware that she's also going to be under the wire and needing to focus herself. But he seems to be, like, kind of pissed at her, you know? And this is when we transition into the school shooting scene. There's a gunshot, everybody hits the ground, and then Lucky gets up on one of the tables and is holding up a pistol and is chucking things at people, yelling at them about how he just got fired, about how they all need to learn to clean up after themselves because apparently I'm not good enough to clean up after a bunch of little assholes. And this scene, like, he is really, really good at playing unhinged. He really does get across that, like, frenetic, hectic, sort of manic, anything could go wrong at any moment sort of energy. And I just feel really like when we know what happened to this kid, it makes a lot of sense. He, you know, was a victim of abuse and he went to war and has PTSD more than likely. Like, he's just fucking trauma central, you know? So he starts saying, "Where's my girl, Gia?" And Gia is like, bugging out and really starting to almost cry out loud and lead him right to her. And Veronica tries to shush her. So Jacqui pulls out her phone to call the cops, and she gets caught. He sees her and wants to know, who are you calling? And Wallace realizes that she is being targeted. He can't see her, I don't think, but I think he hears her voice when she says, "Nobody, I'm not calling anybody." And Wallace runs up and tackles this dude in like the most heroic moment, sincerely. Honestly. And this dude picks up the gun, and I thought, are they going to do this? Are they really going to do this? And he pulls the trigger, and it turns out the gun is loaded with blanks. He is just fucking with all of them. And he's laughing to himself. Lucky is like really smug about how he scared everybody, and it turns out the gun's not even loaded. And a second later, he goes down, and the security guy behind him shot him. Now, I said this during the live watch. Guys, do security guards at like a school carry guns? Is this a thing? Because I always thought if you were a cop on school property, sure. I didn't think security guards almost anywhere, unless they were like maybe at like a bank headquarters or something, I didn't think that they were allowed to carry weapons, and that feels kind of bonkers to me. But it's not hugely important, but it does make me side eye considering what we know about Lucky and the fact that he knows something about Woody, that there's a part of me that's like, did they try and egg him into this position so that he could be taken out? Like, or was this purely a series of terrible coincidences that just happened to work out really well for Woody? I don't know. So yeah, this scene is just like, it's really effective. I thought it was really, really well done. So, okay. After we have this like moment of the mayor doing a press conference about what happened with all of the press around him and his attempt at making, like, seeming really sympathetic. I doubt we'll ever be able to make sense out of the actions of such a troubled person. And it's just really, they picked a really good actor to portray somebody who is both a politician and a fucking creep. Like, they really did. Agnes is here. Hi, Agnes. I think you posted that a minute ago. Sorry. So both Veronica and her father, they're talking about the fact that she was just in so much danger because, and they're doing their thing where they try and make quips about it, how they try and minimize it. But God, she has had so many brushes with danger that I can't imagine how he must feel being her father, but good Lord. And he talks to her about getting into Woody's emails and the fact that that Lucky apparently sent Woody a bunch of emails that had like attachments, but that those attachments had been deleted. And he explains to her about getting onto a lesser used computer and that the emails could still be on the server. Now, guys, I'm not going to try and like get into this too much because I truly don't like when he starts explaining it, it had the sound to it of something that sounds like it would work to people who don't know about computers, but in reality is not true at all. And I don't know if that's fair or not, but there is just a the way that it was described, I was like, yeah, this sounds like something that you could believe if you don't know any better. Now, we're also talking about, you know, early 2000s, mid 2000s technology. So I don't really know what was available and what wasn't, but I would have assumed that like refreshing was something that was just happening by then. And I don't know. So apparently it's that they're all on the same network is kind of the key here. I still don't really get that. It's fine. The key is that if she gets onto like a lesser used computer, apparently one in a guest room, that the emails and the attachments are going to still be intact. And he intends to like break into the house and try and get to those. But Veronica is like, well, Gia asked me to come over. I can just do this. And you don't have to worry about like, you know, putting yourself on the line and breaking in. So we have this like, we have two short scenes. It's funny because we have the scene with Veronica and her dad. Then we have the scene with Jacqui and her dad. Then we have the scene with Logan and his dad. There's a lot of parent stuff happening. And the one with Jacqui and her dad, he's like very agitated about the fact that he was not able to protect Jacqui, that it had to be Wallace that did it. He obviously doesn't like being in the position where he's helpless and laid up. And it's really terrible because she says something to him about how her life is better than it's ever been because she's so happy with Wallace and everything. And I wish to God that her father would understand that she can handle him telling her the truth about what's going on. Because what winds up happening later is the casino owner, whose name I have forgotten, decides that he is going to step forward on behalf of her father and say that he was with him the whole time in order to sort of lock him in. Lobo, thank you, Agnes. He is going to exact payment from Jacqui's father in the form of him being at like the doors of the casino and shaking hands with all of the casino guests. And that basically this guy, he's going to own him until God knows when. He says something like, you will have paid me off by in maybe about 10 years. It's a pretty bleak picture he's painting, you know? Anya says, I call him Jacob Black. Ma'am. Yeah, and he is, like, honestly, I've seen this actor a bunch of times, and I don't think I've ever seen him be sinister before. And he does it pretty well. He's real creepy. Like, I was impressed with that. It must be fun for him, because so much of the time he has to play somebody who's, like, you know, the stereotypical Native American who's like real connected and whatnot. And getting to play a bit of a scumbag is probably a nice change. So yeah, Jacqui's father like winds up closing himself off from her completely and kind of yelling at her when she suggests that maybe she won't go to Paris because she wants to stay with him. And he is like a real asshole and causes her to just bail and go to Paris without saying goodbye, really. She must have said goodbye to him because he knows where she went. But she leaves without saying goodbye to Wallace. And I am really frustrated with her father. Like, it's like he hasn't learned anything. Jacqui is smart. Jacqui is trying to be supportive. She clearly loves him. And he does not do her the courtesy of trusting that he can share what the fuck is actually going on, honestly, with her. And it's really frustrating to me, man. Like, would she like it? No, of course not. But she would understand why you're so upset and angry and frustrated. And frankly, as much as you find this humiliating, because it is, it's still better than you being suspected of blowing up a bus full of kids. So, like, I just want him to be straight with her for once, and he just won't do it. And it's annoying because it like causes her to ruin something with Wallace as well. And it could have worked out. It could have they could have managed to do... I don't like the idea of her staying home from Paris. If she got accepted to a school that she was excited about, that was going to be good for her, I'm not trying to say that she should have stayed and that he ruined that and now she went off for all... Like, I just feel like long distance when you're this age, I don't tend to think it's a great idea. But when I say that, I'm usually talking about people who do not have the resources to, like, visit each other regularly. Jacqui has the resources. It's not like they're doing super well, but they have the money for her to fly home and, you know, see Wallace pretty regularly. I think it would be okay. I'm not saying they'd get married, but I think they could have worked something out. Anyway, it's just really frustrating. So that's what's going on with him. And then there's the scene with Logan and his dad, in which basically his father tells him it'd be a real shame if you told them that you saw this tape and then destroyed it, because you'd be guilty of destroying state's evidence, and that's a felony. And wouldn't it be a shame if they nailed you to the wall for that? And he tries to act like, I just really care about you, son. And Logan is just like, yeah, I'm definitely fooled by that. For sure, I think you give a shit about me. 100%, Dad. Go fuck yourself. And gets up and leaves, and we see him later giving testimony and telling the whole truth. And, you know, it's a real moment for Logan, because I feel like he's made it abundantly clear repeatedly that he is not interested in patching things up with his dad, that he doesn't believe any of his dad's bullshit lines about, you know, whatever excuse he tries to give for anything. But there's this weird bit of Aaron that seems to be, like, kind of convinced that he can touch some reserved part of Logan's heart that is still a bit of a, what's the word I want here? I'm trying to think. Sympathetic is not the word I want. It's like that, though. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? But he seems to think that he can reach this, like, tender-hearted part of Logan who still longs to be a family and all of this. And I feel Aaron just really underestimates how much Logan has given up on that idea, that dream. Logan knows better. That's not going to happen. You know, like, it's just really hard to watch Aaron try and manipulate his son with no understanding of who his son actually is. It's just embarrassing. So, yeah, I was very proud of Logan that he goes ahead and fucking, he testifies anyway. All right, so here comes the thing. I don't know what to make of this. We've got, okay, Beaver. I don't know what's going on with Beaver, guys. He didn't want to sleep with Mac. He was acting really weird about the fact that she wanted to sleep with him. Like, it was very clear that she was like, no, let's do this. And he just didn't want to. I don't know what that's about unless, A, he's gay, which I don't sense. It seems like he is very into Mac. So I don't understand that. Or B, did he sleep with Kendall and also get chlamydia and didn't treat it and is feeling weird about it? I don't feel like Beaver's going to fuck Kendall. He does not seem like the type. At the same time, neither did Duncan. And it seems that fucking Duncan did. So I don't know what's up and what's down anymore. So that's A, B, C is that he thinks that getting involved further with her is, like, going to be dangerous for her somehow because he's involved in some real shady shit. And to be honest, that's bullshit, because having sex with her puts her in no more danger than just dating her if you're in shady shit. People are going to know that y'all are together and that you care about her. They aren't going to necessarily know that you had sex. So that really doesn't make any sense. And And when Veronica walks out to the parking lot, Beaver has carved in the door of his car, Amber is a bitch. Now, I don't know what, like, he's acting really disgusted, and, like, he's behaving as if he really doesn't know anything about what this is. I can't decide whether or not to believe him. I feel like he knows more than he's saying, but there's no excuse he can come up with that would really, like, work. And so he has to just plead ignorance. And I don't know. Like, why would somebody carve Amber is a bitch in his car door? What would that even mean? I have no idea. Meanwhile, there's this other kid that's standing next to him that says hi to Veronica, and she doesn't know his name, and he tells her it's Hart. And then he says, I haven't said a thing, and then zips his lips. And she just says, good for you. And what is that? Also, haven't said a thing about what? Hart. Who are you? Where were you? What are you talking about? What? I genuinely, like, I got nothing on this. And this is like the small little side mystery that does not get revealed at the end of this episode. And I am, in particular, dying to know what's up with Hart, what he's, like, claiming he hasn't said anything about, and what's going on with Beaver, because he has been involved with Kendall with, like, setting up this whole fake business thing. Is Beaver involved with the fucking Fitzpatricks himself? Did that happen? Like, is he trying to build up his family's, like, lost/frozen fortune by getting involved in a criminal enterprise? I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but, like, that feels like an enormous leap to make. Unless Kendall, like, led him down that path, which I guess she could have since she was involved with him already. I don't know. But this in particular, this little side bit, is what I am super, super curious about. So then we have the scene where Veronica goes into the Goodman's guest room to use the computer. She comes up with a pretty convincing, like, you know, at least convincing for Gia reason to need to use this computer. But nevertheless, when she is on it, she gets caught by Mr. Goodman. Now, she does succeed in finding the undeleted files of Lucky talking with one other dude, and they think later that there was a third person, but that their voice was, like, edited out of the file, talking about, we need to talk about what he did to the three of us. A couple of the sharks had to know about it. They'll come forward. Things like this don't stay secret. And of course, she thinks that, and he says, Woody is a pervert. He's sick. What he did to us is wrong. We were just kids. And as she's hearing this, she's assuming, understandably, that he's talking about the professional team, the Sharks. But come to find out later, because he's passing by a photo on the wall when he's, like, it turns out Lucky was the one filming inside of Woody's house. There is a little league team called the Sharks, and that's what he was talking about. So that's why she and her father have so much trouble tracking down who it could be that he was talking to or about. So this is when fucking Woody comes in and is like, what are you doing, Veronica? And it killed me because, like, Veronica has an extremely valid reason here for being on this computer. And she has it written all over her face that she is doing something shady. And I'm just like, oh, Veronica, you really need to have a better poker face. Like, you usually do. I feel like you have played it very well a few times. But man, in this instance, like, you have it set up while you're in here. You have, I mean, don't get me wrong. He knows that she's up to something because he just kind of seems to know who she is. But nevertheless, I wanted her to play it off a lot more casually than she manages to do. And he like gets up in her face and asks, and she says that she took a practice test, and he comes up to her and says to her, "So, how did it go? Are you as smart as you think you are?" And like stares at her with these dead eyes like a fucking shark. And she just says, "I hope so." And I'm like, girl, you need to come up with like, play it off. Make him feel weird. Be so innocent that you're like, why are you being like this? Like, you need to act like you don't know what he's saying has a double meaning. You need to act like you think he is being a weirdo. Like, why are you giving it all away right now, lady? Come on. Melanie says, like a fucking shark. Nice. I know. Right after I said it, I was like, but yeah, this moment felt like Veronica really kind of dropped the ball in a way that she doesn't often do. And it would be one thing if she got caught breaking into his house and doing this, but she is a friend of his daughter's. She is like got permission to be on this computer. It's all set up so well for her. She just could have done more with what she was given. But nevertheless, that recording, like, she winds up leaving early, telling Gia that she is not feeling well. And again, that was another thing that I found to be really like, I wish that she had like stuck around and not seemed so damn suspicious. The minute that he finds her in the guest room, she goes off and runs away like a fucking scared little rabbit. No, girl, come on, stand your ground. So she has her father listen to this, and they determine that they are going to track down all of the people that he could have been talking to and figure out what was going on. So we have the rest of this trial. We have Veronica getting questioned, and this lawyer brings up the fact that Veronica has chlamydia. Now, guys, again, I'm unclear about what is allowed and what isn't. For example, there's an episode of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend where somebody brings up the fact that one of the professionals who is testifying on behalf of a client has schizophrenia. Or I think it's schizophrenia. But that is treated as if like, oh, well, then all of his testimony is garbage and will be thrown out the window and nobody will believe him. Which I'm just like, first of all, are you allowed to just say that? That somebody, like, are you allowed to out them and their medical condition in front of everybody? And secondly, are we really living in an age where that is just treated as like an across the board, oh, this person can't be trusted still? Really? But in this moment, how did this lawyer find out that she had chlamydia? How is that allowed to be brought up? How is that relevant to anything? Why did the defense not like the judge says something about how, well, I'll allow it. Why? How? Like, this feels like a clear violation of HIPAA. I don't understand how this was permitted. And it just it kind of took me out of the scene a little bit, that this is like, I mean, I just don't really understand how any of this is allowed, and why the judge would be like, oh yeah, I'll allow it. Like, no, I would be, if I were the defense, I'd be like, can I approach the bench? What the fuck? Like, sincerely. So this is used to like embarrass her. And then her father later on, he winds up taking the stand, and it's amazing. This guy is basically insinuating that Veronica was trying to blackmail Aaron with these tapes by forcing him to have sex with her in exchange for not revealing this information. It's the most unbelievable, ridiculous, like, yeah, I'm sure she just wants so much to sleep with this fucking washed up 50-year-old actor. Like, what are you talking? And this is supposed to be part of like painting her as this man-eater, like gold digger type. But it is just so ludicrous, and I can't, like, So basically, this dude impugns Veronica's honor a few too many times, and Keith winds up snatching this dude by the fucking collar and essentially doing precisely what he told Veronica not to do, which is lets himself get real riled up. And I have to admit, guys, as much as I knew that this was going to fuck up the case and make him look really bad, I couldn't help but cheer a little bit because fuck this lawyer. And I hope somebody slashes his tires. I hope. And then there's another scene in which Keith does a similar thing where he goes and tells Woody, I need you to get your family out of the house, call in the bomb squad. The emails Lucky sent you, they reference presents he's left for you. He called bombs presents. And he says, Tommy is dead, Keith. It's over. And he says, wait, how did you? And he says, oh, Veronica, like really playing, oh, isn't it weird that you have your kids do this? And he says, most adults, this guy's, I love this moment so much. He says Veronica and says, most adults don't have their children doing espionage work for them. And Keith says, most adults keep their hands off of other people's children. Y'all! I fucking whooped out loud. I was just like, oh shit. I couldn't believe he just said that shit. And he tells Woody, I know what you've been doing. And Woody, with his fucking smile and his broken tooth, is like, oh, I will fuck up your entire life if you say anything about this to anybody. To which Keith is like, you could try. I'm not worried about it. I'm not 15. I'm not scared of you. And I'm like, you know what, Keith? Low-key, maybe you should be. Because guys like this will just do whatever. They just don't care. But nevertheless, it's just a really satisfying moment that I fucking loved. So there is, let's see, there's this little sub thing about Mac teaching Weevil about algebra in exchange for Weevil fixing Beeve's car. And this is part of where I'm just like, Beeve, obviously you and Mac are like into each other. What is going on here exactly? Why do you want her to stay out of things? And who is Amber still? I want to know. And I am... this thing with Weevil, he winds up like passing the test so that he can graduate. And it's a really good moment because we're all like cheering for him and so excited for him. But then we see these kids that come in to talk to Lamb and point out Weevil out of a series of photos and say that he is the one that gripped up Thumper. And apparently they still haven't found Thumper's body. He's just being listed as missing. So they don't know where he is and they won't find him for God knows how long. I don't know if they ever will. Like, who knows how that works. But I felt so bad that Weevil manages to like get his passing grade and then gets like, you know, grabbed up by the cops here. Sucks. Yeah. This moment with Keith where he grabs him by the collar. Oh, it is so great. So let's see. Logan found, oh, right. I forgot about this. Veronica goes and talks to Logan about Lucky and if he ever like saw something going on with him, and he talks about how he walked in on Lucky in the janitor's closet washing his feet with bleach wearing a catcher's mask, which don't know. I really don't have any theories about like what that's about. I feel like the catcher's mask could be related to him being abused. Bleaching, I could see being like, there's a lot of self-loathing that comes with being raped or molested that makes you feel like you're dirty and you need to clean up. And there's a lot of like people who will go into being almost like OCD after, or at least taking like showers that are too hot, things like this in order to try and cleanse themselves. And I don't know if it's related to that or if there's a whole other thing going on. Was the bleach like him trying to clean up from making bombs? Like, I really have no idea what this could be about. But yeah, she tells her father about this. And he stands up and says he was wearing a catcher's mask. And he then goes and looks at the surveillance footage, and they realize that it's like one of the Little League teams. So he goes to Lamb. And again, guys, another moment of Keith Mars just fucking being over it. Lamb basically is like, you want me to go and arrest the fucking mayor. And the theory here that Keith has is that the two kids that were on the bus, two of them had also been molested by the mayor, and he is just trying to get them out of the way. And Lamb is like, you thought that Lucky blew up or planted a bomb, and he did. We found one. But Keith is like, yeah, maybe he did, but he isn't the one responsible for this. He was actually in an inpatient facility, as it turns out, on the day that the bus exploded, so he couldn't have set it off. And at this point, he says, is your ego really that enormous that you can take the murder of 8 people and make it about you? I love it. 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 And I said like this almost exact thing last episode, which was that Lamb's ego is the thing that keeps on crippling everything. And as it turns out, he's right, because he tries to, tell Lamb he is going to vanish. He is going to disappear. And sure enough, later on, Lamb has to come for Keith and be like, so funny story, the mayor's gone. And Keith is like, oh, no way. Really? Shocking. Who could have seen that coming? What a surprise. Oh, God. Fucking Lamb. Yeah. So then we find out that they reached a verdict in the Echolls trial. And Veronica is about to go in to take her test that everything is hinging on. And what does she do? She gets up and leaves this test to go to the courthouse for the trial. Guys, does this seem like a terrible idea to anybody else? Like, sincerely, I could not believe she would take this kind of risk when she's like, everything depends on this scholarship that she's been obsessing over getting. The verdict will be what the verdict is going to be. Like, it made me crazy that she got up and left. It really did. And it turns out, of course, that they fucking found him not guilty on every single charge. Everything. Murder, statutory rape, everything. Aggravated assault. It's just, and they have to watch Veronica and Logan and her father. They made up this insane story about what actually happened on the night that Logan's dad, or that Aaron, chased her down and locked her in a fridge and tried to burn it. Like, they make up that they just went and knocked on this person's door, and they say something about how, oh, you can ask the homeowner. They'll support the story. And it turns out that the homeowner is, missing. To which I'm like, okay, did you kill them? Or did you just, pay them enough to go away? Either way, how is this not setting off alarm bells for the jury? Was the jury paid off? Were they, hand selected? I mean, I just can't understand it. Excuse me. So this ending is really fucking Aaron looks over at Veronica with a little smug eyebrow raise as she is sitting there almost in tears at the knowledge that the guy who murdered her friend and tried to murder her is just gonna get to walk away. Which, yeah, that's fucked up. And that's a really sad ending. And I really fucking hope they managed to do something to nail this guy's ass to the wall. Did somebody make copies of the tapes that they're like sitting on somewhere? Because it would have been good to come forward, person. Anya says, did that mean that her doctor is crooked? He seemed okay. About Veronica's doctor. Maybe? I don't know. Like, this is my question. I wish that there was somebody who knew about this sort of thing listening, who could like educate me on whether or not this would be permissible. Because it just, I can't imagine that it is, but I am often shocked at what is like permissible and what is considered okay in court. So my judgment is not something to go by. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you again very much to Jacqui for commissioning this episode. Unfortunately, the next episode won't be until January. It will also be a live watch. I am going to literally die because I can't watch it until then. But there it is. Anya says, who do you think crashed the bus? Last suppositions. You know what I'm going to say? I sound nuts. I'm going to say it was Gia. There. I'm going to go fucking left. And I'm going to say it looks too much like it's Woody for that to be who it is. I feel like he has the most reason. But I would not be surprised if Gia found out about what was going on and turns out to be a lunatic, and that I have been sympathizing with her this whole time, thinking about how sad it's going to be when her father is revealed to be what he is, and that actually she's like a total snake in the grass. So that's what I'm going to say. I sound crazy. I don't care. It's Gia. That's what I'm going to say. If I turn out to be right, I will never stop laughing because I don't really believe it, but I really like making predictions about somebody that I'd never expect. So yeah, that's who I'm going with. So I guess we'll find out in a month and a half. I'm going to die. Thank you all again for listening. Till then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.